Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 425 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We got some interesting stuff to talk about today, which I'm excited to get into. But before we get into that, we got another co-host in Grim. Good morning, Grim. How are you today?
Morning. Pretty excited. I got a brand new energy drink I've been wanting to try out. So that's
Ooh. Have you been drinking it already this morning?
I just started drinking it
right now. All right. Well, so keep an eye on Crim throughout the cast. See the energy level. This will be an endorsement
I just start
or
rattling
not of the
off,
energy drink.
then you'll know that it I guess works.
Anyway, today we got a couple of interesting topics. We had a Arena Pro Tour Arena Championship number 2 this weekend. I want to talk a little bit about that. I had some questions about this that I was hoping y'all could help me figure out. And then we got a first look at the new Lord of the Rings set with a bunch of spoilers. So we're going to jump into that, maybe get to some fish mail questions. So that is the plan for today. Before we jump into it though, a reminder that our show today is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, they are the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. Actually, Richard, we were just talking off cast. You recently used Card Conduit. How easy was it? Is it as easy as I'm always saying on these podcasts? What was your experience?
It was very easy. You just put the cards in. They tell you put these cards in the box. Put them in the box. I sent it in, and then they're like, "We got your shipment." Then they sent me my money. It was actually that easy.
So if you want to buy less cards, it really, you get to skip all the time and all the typing and all the work. And did you use their curated service, Richard, or did you use their sorted service where you got to list and sort your cards ahead of time and pay a slightly less fee?
Sorted, because I knew which cards were bulk, which was like 98% of my booster box. And I took the 3 cards worth any money and I sent them in.
So yes, you could use the curated service where you literally just send in all your cards with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay a 5% fee. Or like Richard, use a sorted service where you list your cards ahead of time and pay just a 2% fee. And as Richard just mentioned, no matter which one you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off if you head over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So let's talk some Magic, and we'll get to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth spoilers in a minute. But first, there was an Arena Championship this weekend. Apparently no one knew about it. Neither of you seem to know about it until this weekend. A lot of people on Twitter didn't seem to know about it. As far as I can tell, this is like a pro tour. Like when they announced organized play, the idea is Paper would have actual pro tours and then Arena would have Arena championships. And if you do well, you make it to Worlds out of either one of those. So this was supposed to be a really big deal, although it didn't really end up feeling like a big deal. I was watching it on and off throughout the weekend. There was around 5,000 people watching. I think it might have got up to 6,000 at one point. But compared to the Paper Pioneer Pro Tour that was like, day one was 16,000 and it got up to like 24 or 25 during the finals, it was not a lot of people watching it. So I'm very curious.
When was there a Pioneer Finals?
That was why we were in Philly. Why we were in Philly was Pro Tour Philly. So we couldn't watch it because we were at the Magic Con. But there was an actual Pro Tour going on upstairs in a room that no one could get to, like, set away. Yeah.
Now we're going to pretend that I also knew that was happening. So
Crim should have had his energy drink an hour.
I needed this energy drink like a month ago when I was at Philly. Because, what? Like, wait, what won? Oh, Reed Duke won.
Yeah, Reed Duke won with
and then
right.
Because I couldn't read Phyrexian cards, but you know.
Right. Okay. Let's be real here. I am just never in the loop now when it comes to if there's a tournament thing. Like, to be honest with you, I am more likely to like. I'm just struggling to remember when a pre-release is. Yeah, that's like so. All right. I'm too far casual.
So yeah, casual Crim with 40 counter spells in hand, the epitome of a casual Magic player.
That is casual Magic.
So my question, the format was historic in draft. So it was kind of set up like a traditional Pro Tour where you do some rounds of limited and then you play a constructed format. Well, Richard, what actually performed well? I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves. What actually happened in this tournament? And then we can talk a little bit about everything around this tournament.
All right. Exciting, out of nowhere deck. Rakdos midrange won. So it was a historic tournament. That means there were alchemy cards. That means it was on Arena. Rakdos midrange won. Mardu Reanimator came in second. Is it Wizards? Is it Phoenix? Wait, is this even right? So I feel I'm looking at Swiss. I feel like I'm looking at Swiss results here on Melee.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, those are the decks that performed best overall.
Yeah.
I believe the actual finals was the two Is It decks, Is It Wizards versus Is It Phoenix, and it was Hishiro Anazaku who actually won the tournament playing Is It Wizards. So I think those decks all made it to the top 8, the ones you were listing off, Mardu Reanimator, Rakdos, but in the top 8, it was actually the Is It Wizards deck that took down first place over Is It Phoenix.
I'm looking at this list and I don't recognize any of the cards. There's so many, not only like alchemy cards in here, but like rebalanced alchemy cards as well.
Yes. It is like the Is It Wizards deck, for example, that won the tournament. It doesn't have a lot of straight up alchemy cards, like cards that were printed in alchemy, but it does have some buffed cards that like Symmetry Sage didn't really.
The Symmetry Sage is broken. That card is
being
broken.
the 3/3. Yeah, it is much more powerful than the printed version where it was a 2/2. I lose to the Is It Wizard deck all the time, and then there's some straight up alchemy cards. Yeah, no, really, how do you not lose to that deck, Grim?
Because if I live and I cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter, there goes their entire deck.
That is true. Their total mana value might be less than 20, actually.
Their highest cost card is if you hit a bunch of Wizard's Lightning, you're like, oh, come on, unlucky. Otherwise, you like eat their entire deck.
I mean, it was interesting to watch, I think. Definitely, as Richard said, I didn't know a lot of what was going on because there was a lot of alchemy stuff's a little bit different. I was curious, though, like, the viewership did not seem great to me. That was my biggest takeaway, especially since we just watched that Reed Duke Pro Tour, and Paper Magic had 20,000 plus viewers. This was 5,000 to 6,000 pretty much throughout the entire weekend. The conventional wisdom is Arena should be better for Twitch, right? Isn't that the conventional wisdom? Like, Arena's flashy and new, and, like, you can see the cards better, and it's got animations. What do you make of this? I spent the last day trying to figure out, like, why does this tournament get 1/3 the viewers of a boring old boomery Paper Pioneer tournament with Reed Duke, winning the tournament? Why is this exciting Arena tournament just not doing it for people? Is it historic? Is it that people don't like alchemy? Is it that it wasn't advertised and no one knew about it? What do you guys make of that? Like, why is this so much less viewed than the Paper Pro Tour?
Honestly, I think it's just because there is a bad rap around around historic because the alchemy cards are legal in it, right? I think there's actually a good amount of people that like alchemy, historic, but despise the alchemy cards that are in there. And, I think that it's got a little bit of a bad rap from that, but, like, I do think the format itself is very fun. I think I play it all the time. I'm sure you do too, because I think you make videos on it as well. So, like, we both play a lot of historic. The format's, like, actually fun. You get to do a lot of nonsense because the mystical archives and things like that come from, like, the paper sets onto Arena. So, I don't know. That's just what I think, but I obviously don't know for sure. This is just speculation. So,
what do you think, Richard?
Formats, right? So, historic, even before alchemy, I would say, is not as popular as, like, modern or apparently Pioneer. Pioneer's replaced modern, right? Even in the best case, like, let's say it was actually standard. Does anyone care to watch standard right now?
Standard's like the best. If I were to be sweaty, dude, I don't. Come on now. What would I watch, dude? If it's not anime or if they slapped the Marvel logo before the thing, I'd watch it. Sure.
I mean,
What if they stop Lord of the Rings? But
right now competitive Magic is Lord of the Rings for me.
But Pioneer, well, that was like the first Pioneer thing. That's like kind of the hot new format. Not really, right? But that's like the format everyone's focused on. Besides Standard, and Standard's been out for a while now. So I think even in the best case scenario, if it was a Standard Arena Championship, I think the numbers would be roughly the same. And I
think Standard would be better, right?
Like slightly, but I don't think it would be Pioneer Pro Tour levels.
Pioneer, okay. How is anybody? I love Pioneer, but like at this point, Wizards' lack of a care for like banning things and taking things off the legality of the format. I'm not gonna say anything on what should be banned anymore. Tired of it. So like they're letting that format go back to where it was in a way that I don't like it. I don't like Modern, and I don't like Pioneer anymore. At this point, I only like Standard. I only if I were to get sweaty again, I would play competitive Standard. That format actually is fun enough. Standard is so fun that like at this point I almost want to like care about like doing pro stuff again.
So you don't think it has to do specifically with Alchemy or Historic then? You think it's more just like the arena formats aren't something people are super interested in watching, Richard? Would that be a fair characterization of what you're thinking? Like
I think
so it's more arena formats.
If this was a Standard Championship right after set release, it would get many, many more views. But I think at this point, we've all seen enough Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Wanderer, or whatever. People do not like Historic because Alchemy reasons. And because like the Pioneer Pro Tour got so many views and like the big story was Reed Duke winning and all that, it's all boomers watching this, right? Like it's all like old time spiky Magic players watching this, and they detest Alchemy. Right. And apparently Wizards didn't reach out hard enough to kind of the new casuals who play arena only, who love Alchemy. Like they were not invited to the Twitch stream, I guess. Right. Maybe due to lack of marketing or whatever. But
why would they care? Right. Because like if I play arena.
That exactly. Right. Why would you put this casual friendly format onto the arena championship if they don't care? Right. They should just accept the fact that we don't like Alchemy. And cater to the people like Alchemy who actually watch it, which would be the tournament grinders of old, right? But I don't know. I mean, they should care, right? Like, aren't the events like your path to a pro player or whatever? Like, they still advertise that kind of stuff in arena, right? So new players should care.
But but should they? Like, I mean, if I log on to arena to play my 1 to 2 games, get my dailies done. Are my 2 dailies randomly going to shoot me over to the Pro Tour? No. Like what? Like I
was RNG.
Oh, if you attack with 7 creatures, that's all right.
Yeah,
if they told me if they told me I got like 2,000 gold for like maybe getting to the Pro Tour, I might care.
They need a Pro Tour daily reward, like cast 30 blue spells and you get to go to Worlds.
Yeah.
That would bring them in. That would bring them in.
I
mean, seriously though, like, what about the idea that Arena's better for coverage? Is that just not true? Like, that's the thing that got stuck in my head, because I remember when Arena came out and the whole idea was like, this is modern and it's fast and this is going to revolutionize how Magic is on Twitch. But it seems like there's for whatever reason, a bigger audience for glary sleeved paper Magic than flashy new arena animations. Maybe part of it is like Arena's still just not set up for streaming, and that certainly shone through during the cast this weekend. Like, I felt so bad for the casters because they had a lot of quality issues. They're trying to like get people's matches through Discords, and mics wouldn't work randomly, and it was like kind of disastrous on that end. And I felt bad for the casters trying to like fight through all the technical issues that apparently just come along with being on Arena, since there's no spectator mode and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was kind of shocked and disappointed, honestly, that there wasn't better viewership considering how hyped Arena was. But maybe paper is the way to go. Maybe Wizards figure this out, and that's the direction that we're going.
You know what? If it's an Arena thing, I get it. There's the boomer Magics that are just like, know everything that Arena stands for. I'm against it, man. Like that's fine. But like, here's what we should do. Should make it at this point, right? We've seen that the experiments of what they're trying to do, like Arena, may not get the highest viewership when it comes to competitive Magic. We should put the next one on Moto.
Hey, there we go.
I'm sure there would be a lot of you like, yeah, Magic's finally back on, and I would rather watch like Oregon Trail, right? Like I guarantee you that I would rather watch Oregon Trail.
100% watch Moto, because what does that mean? That means modern. That means legacy.
Yeah.
That doesn't, if they put like Momi or Basic, I'll be like, okay, Wizards, come on, right? But that means a real format, right? But here's the problem with Arena. Arena is better for new players, but our new players, like theoretically, even then I'm not sure, right? When you have an alchemy card with 80 abilities and whatever, like can you even tell what's going on? But where are the new players? It's just all like grizzled veterans watching this stream.
Yeah.
They actually don't care, right? They don't care between Arena or Paper or Moto, probably, right? They just care like what's the format, who are the players.
Yeah.
But if you were trying to get new players, that would be the way to go. But all right, it's time to talk about Marvel Snap, guys. Arena client hasn't updated since launch. Literally nothing has changed about it, really, right? They've actually toned back animations. They've actually not added spectator mode, right? They've added a friends list. That was like their biggest accomplishment in the 4 years since beta /
Technology's
launch.
not there yet. You need to slow your roll, Richard. Let's calm down.
Marvel Snap's update is like, oh, we're actually adding a new ladder, and we're adding like a new competitive mode, and we're adding like all these things. We're adding cards that mess with things. Like the development is so much more apparent that every time you open the client, it's actually totally different, right? They're like, oh, we're actually adding like a whole new mode, because once you get to Mythic, you have nothing to do. So we'll add a leaderboard, right? We'll add 1v1 battles and stuff like that, right? So Arena hasn't changed at all. It's actually gone backwards. It's actually less viewable. I want my little Galta animation or whatever back, right? Like
Scarab God doesn't swing his little pickaxe anymore.
Maybe Wizards views it as just a way to bring in new players, and then you push them onto the Pioneer Pro Tour or whatever. Like maybe they just don't care. Like it is kind of shocking that there hasn't been more development on Arena over the super long history,
right? Like we're spectator mode to run your Arena championships, right? Like
yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for years, though, and it's still not happening. So I guess getting the hopes up are not a good place to be in, because it just doesn't seem likely to happen. We've been saying the same thing for like 2-3 years in a row now.
Now, like, I will say, I just want to share like a little fun story about like Arena, and the other day I updated it, and it completely like deleted my D drive. Okay, you're like, but Krim, that's not that's your computer. I actually updated it, and then all of a sudden my D drive went missing, and I had my IT friend who then helped me step by step like figure out what's going on, and we pinned it down to every time I would try to gather assets and update Arena. It would crash my D drive, and any game I would try to open after updating Arena would not launch. It would not work. But if I opened the game, and if I restarted my computer, power cycled, started those games before trying to update Arena, the games would work. So it was actually just Arena that blew up my D drive.
This was actually, I actually remember this. This was a real issue. Like Arena, when you uninstalled it before, would just delete everything in the install folder. So if you installed it, so normally it installs its own folder, right? But if you just installed it in your like actual D drive, like your root, it would actually delete everything. I'm pretty sure they fixed it, but I actually remember reading that report, and I'm like, I have no faith. I'm like, who does this, right? But
yeah, but have you heard of the game within the game, Richard? that is the fun that is.
All right. I'm not trashing on Arena. I'm sure they'll update it eventually with cards or something.
Please carefully update it. I would like to have my D drive, but thank you.
How about animations? Just give me awesome animations, right? Like what is? I know what's hard about it, making the animations, right? But it'd be cool if we had cool animations, and I felt something mythic, epic when I casted, this really hard to obtain card, right?
I'll be real with you. I think I just want it to be okay, right now I like Arena. I just think Arena needs work. Like if I were to choose between Moto, Paper, Arena, and I wanted to watch competitive Magic or anything, I would rather have it be on Arena.
So we gotta talk about some Lord of the Rings spoilers, but I do have one last real quick question. Is there any chance Wizards ever just like takes the L on putting alchemy cards in Historic? Like, is there any point where there's enough complaints and enough people being like, I used to love Historic, but now I don't because of these alchemy cards, or like enough bad viewership that Wizards would actually change that? Or do you think this just is how it is and we gotta just accept it for what it is?
I think the internet and everyone here, every listener and everyone in this podcast knows Wizard will not take the L. They will not take the L.
I thought they were taking the L months ago. I'm like, why are they still making alchemy cards? Did anyone look at new Phyrexia All Is One alchemy cards?
No.
Why?
No.
Why bother if you know it's so unpopular? Like, literal casual players do not care. They don't even know what like the cards are doing, right? So the fact they don't care. The grizzled veterans don't care. So even if it's not like hurting the game or anything, like just the resources devoted to making the new mechanics and making the new cards is simply not worth it, right? So I'm not sure why we're continually doing this.
I think the best case scenario is that they just casually drift off in the night, don't say anything, they stop making cards for it, and that's it. Like but they will not be like, because people have already spent their wild cards. Yeah, they won't ban it. They won't do anything. All they'll do is just be like, oh, we'll fix it eventually, and then just that's it.
That's probably most likely. Like, I feel like it's got to happen eventually, unless they have some inside data that we can't see in Twitch numbers and gameplay numbers and all the stuff we can see externally. Unless there's something we're missing, like it seems like sooner or later they just gotta let it fade off into the sunset and focus on other things. But anyway, we have other things to focus on, like Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. We got a sneak peek at this set. Richard, I guess why don't you guide us through some Lord of the Rings spoilers?
I associate sleeping with Lord of the Rings. I almost fell asleep, my bad.
Oh, come on, Grim, we're losing viewership. This is the hook of the podcast.
Seth said Lord of the Rings, and I just immediately felt tired again. How did you kill the buzz of my energy drink? Oh, you mentioned Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay. Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
We are proud Lord of the Ring lovers here at MTG Goldfish. Yep. Don't let Krim and Seth fool you. We support.
I love Lord of the Rings.
We support high fantasy settings.
To fall asleep, Richard. Okay, so I appreciate Lord of the Rings is the best way to get a good night's rest.
Look, this is a way to appreciate the IP without having to sit through like 18 hours of mind-numbing cinema. Okay, like here you go.
This is
you can play the cards.
This is the way. This is Lord of the Rings for me. I can't.
Let me teach you the story through a
cards.
tale of cards. Okay. Okay. So cards are up. MTGpreviews.com. We have a lot of cards actually. Preview season has not started. Just a sneak peek at all the leaked cards. Were these all the leaked cards?
There was a couple of leaked cards, but also just a bunch of spoilers. Yeah, preview season isn't until end of May or June, so we got a while actually till we're back at this.
Okay, so let's hit it off. Gandalf the Grey. Is it wizard? 3 blue and a red, 5 mana. Legendary creature, Avatar Wizard, 3/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one that hasn't been chosen. You may tap or untap target permanent. Gandalf deals 3 damage to each opponent. Copy target instant or sorcery you control. You may choose new targets. Put Gandalf on top of its owner's library.
Okay. I know that off of the little thing that I just opened with, I'm not the person to mention this, but is Gandalf the Grey off color here? Like, shouldn't he be Azorius? Why
shouldn't he be gray?
Okay. We read. Okay, here we go. We had to do research because everyone did this. There are multiple Gandalfs. Okay. So there will be multiple Gandalfs. I don't know if he's is it or not, but he's gonna come back eventually as Gandalf the White, where he's like supercharged. So that's gonna be the broken one if it's lore appropriate. But this is the before you shall not pass. He's still living. He's just like Dirty Wizard, powerful but not too powerful.
But I thought that I don't know the name of the art, but like it's the one where it looks like it's got the ring scripture around it.
Yeah,
isn't this as he's falling down and battling the Balrog, the Gitrog? No, the Balrog.
So before he battles the Gitrog monster,
yeah. Okay. All right. First off, if you want to let me,
that's where spoiler
the crim
alerts,
cut
he
of
dies,
Lord of the Rings does
comes
exist.
back
Okay.
as Gandalf the White. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So even before he battles the Balrog monster, right? How is it?
I don't feel he's chaotic, but I'm not
right.
Sure. I can't be the one championing Lord of the Rings. So I watched the movies. Well, I read the book like literally maybe 20 years ago. I read 1.5 books. I never finished the trilogy. I watched all the movies though. I'm up to date. Okay.
The upside crim of us not being into Lord of the Rings is we don't have to worry about stuff like this. Like, is it gray? Like, I don't care. Like, it copies my spells. Like,
all you gotta know
cool.
is he's carrying a sword and a staff at the same time, and he can do 4 mediocre things for 5 mana. Is this modern playable, guys?
Well, yes.
Okay.
It's finally time. We're ready to see modern be broken in half. Gandalf the Grey is here. This set looks very good for modern. I'm kidding.
So Wizards actually talked about this during the stream. I don't know if you watched the preview stream, but there'd been a lot of questions and like rumors like, is this going to be a Modern Horizons set? We know it's legal in Modern. And Wizards basically said, this isn't Modern Horizons. The goal isn't to really make a set for Modern, but there will be specific cards that are for Modern. And there'll be some Modern cards in the set. So I think this is really like a flavor set number 1, and then like a commander set number 2, and then we'll get some cards that might actually work in modern number 3. Gandalf is not going to see play in modern. Would you even play this in commander? Like, I'm kind of on the fence. It's grown on me like very slightly, just because as a commander, the put on top of your library does kind of in a weird way cheat on the command tax if you can leave up spells, which is kind of a nice little upside. You do got to skip a draw to do it. Copying your spells is powerful. I don't know. I'm really stretching to figure out a reason this is a good spell slinger commander.
It's just chosen once. So until Gandalf like dies and recast.
Yeah. You gotta put it back on top of your deck, recast it, and start the process over.
So this is like kind of like perpetual.
So perpetual Gandalf.
So like modern is like paper historic.
Basically, yes.
That's pretty cool. Okay. As Seth dies on the inside.
Honestly, I thought this card was gonna be better. Like maybe the white one's really busted, but I'm actually like, my first gut reaction was, wow, I thought Gandalf would have been stronger than this.
Well, okay, we'll see with what happens with the others, right? Like Gandalf the Grey, I think should be significantly more powerful. I'm also curious to see if the Balrog monster will be here. I'm curious to see if like I don't know. Obviously, there's a few things here that are at play. These don't look like the actors. Yes, I know that because everyone is used to the movies. But y'all got to remember that this was a thing before the movies. So they're drawing from that. But yeah, like Gandalf the Grey, I think just isn't good anywhere. But you know what? The good news is this set, if it's a flavor thing, that's awesome. I love that. I love that for the people that love Lord of the Rings.
Well, it's a flavor thing for double the price, triple the price, whatever, right?
Yeah, it is. You gotta pay for the IP somehow, I guess. It is expensive.
All right.
What is it, 300? No, it's like 400? 300
Collector boosters were like 440. I think normal boosters were like 200 a box for
it's
like
200 bucks. Would you be double the price, right? Like a standard set would be 100.
Yeah.
So, okay. Frodo, Sorin's Bane. A single white mana.
What?
It's a 1-drop.
Sauron.
Sauron.
Sorin? That's Nahiri, dude. That's Nahiri. Okay, no, dude. This is not Nahiri.
Oh no, I don't know. Legendary creature, halfling citizen, 1/2. Hybrid Orzhov. So two mana activated ability. If Frodo is a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power, toughness 2/3, and lifelink. 3 black. If Frodo is a scout, it becomes a Halfling Rogue with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game if the ring has tempted you 4 or more times this game. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. We do not know what the ring tempting you means. There is no card that tells us, nor has Wizards told us.
This card is entirely dependent on whatever the heck that means.
I mean, they showed off 3 cards that are like that. We got Frodo. There's also Gollum, Patient Plotter, which also cares about the ring tempting you, and Samwise the Stout-Hearted, which also cares about the ring tempting you. And Wizards directly said, like, we're not going to tell you until spoiler season starts. So it's not like we're going to find out about this. I could see this card being good. If the ring tempting you is something that's worth building a deck around, then this could be a good 1-drop in the deck, but if it's not, then this is just unplayable. So at this point, it's just like full-on wait-and-see mode, right? Like, how do you make sense of a card like this? For any format. Like, I don't know, like both formats, all formats. I would be surprised if it ended up being good enough for Modern, but...
Yeah, I don't know what timeline where... So, of the cards that I've seen, I don't think, like, 99% of the cards are playable in Modern. Except for one thing that might get played, but then I thought about it, it's like, has Remand been good? So, like...
No. I don't think we could just write off the ring tempting you, because look at Initiative. Like, that
it has to be
broke
4
Legacy.
times. Like, you somehow have to trigger the ring tempting you 4 times, hit someone with a 1/1, and then pump it with triple black. Like, there's no way that's Modern playable, right?
It would be a 2/3 at that point, but still, like,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, but
still
like a no evasion, journally creature.
Yeah, like, I can't wait. I mean, you know what? This does block Ragavan kind of profitably. So,
yeah, Ragavan's not getting through that. I mean, it's probably...
this wall that is Frodo.
It's probably not going to be good enough. But when I saw the initiative cards, I immediately wrote off all those cards as well as being like just commander cards. So I don't want to make that mistake again. Because like Gollum, for example, when it leaves the battlefield, it's a 2-mana 3/1. When it leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. You can pay a black, sack a creature, return it from your graveyard to your hand. Only as a sorcery. It seems pretty easy if you want to build like a sacrifice deck around this to have the ring tempt you 4 times pretty quickly. Like if you're just like sacrificing Cauldron Familiars and looping this from your graveyard, or like Samwise, just ETB 2-mana 2/1 with flash. ETB's the ring tempts you. Like, it seems like having the ring tempt you isn't going to be that challenging. What that means, though, like, is the ring tempting you, drawing you a card? That would be pretty sweet. Then these cards are kind of busted. Is the ring tempting you some, like, meaningless, you gain a life or something, then, like, no one's going to care? Is it a negative thing? Like, we just don't know.
Right, what's our speculation?
Gollum wants to know. Why am I such a bad card? Why does the 1-mana ability not put me back into play? Gollum upset. He's bad card.
Yeah, Gollum's also bad.
We did get a card called the One Ring, which has been one of the most talked about cards from the set. The One Ring has an ability where it lets you draw cards, but then you have to lose life because of it. Is there any chance that the ring tempting you has something to do with that? That it's draw a card and lose a life or something? Or is that just like way too powerful? Like the ring tempting you is not tied directly to the One Ring as far as we know, but I could see there being some sort of, yeah, that is a little confusing, but I could see there being some sort of tie-in to its mechanics. Like the burden counters, like maybe it's like initiative or like something along those lines where you move through some sort of dungeon of benefits and drawbacks with burden counters.
It's probably a dungeon that gets increasingly either better or bad for you, depending. It's probably bad for you, but it's got to be like, it gets more dark confidant as you go. Like maybe the first one is like some benefit, lose a little life, and like by the time you get to stage 5, it's like a huge benefit, but like really like take 10 life or something like that.
But by the time you get to the final level, it finally becomes modern playable in 2012.
That would make the most sense flavor-wise, though, right? If there's like Dark Confidant, you get great power, but there's a great drawback that goes along with it.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I don't know. I don't think the one, like, there's 2 camps. The One Ring is Stone Cold unplayable in Modern, or it actually has some kind of combo or something. So, I don't know.
The One Ring, I mean, I could see Karn tutoring this up in Modern. Like, the One Ring, I guess we didn't read the full text. 4 mana, indestructible legendary artifact. When it ETBs, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. Beginning your upkeep, you lose a life for each burn counter. You can tap it to put a burn counter on it and draw a card for each burn counter on it. I could see this maybe being a Karn tutor target. Maybe there's some combo where you can blink it every turn for permanent protection. What do you think about it in Commander?
Well, you can't you have to cast it to get the protection.
Yeah.
You'd have to, like, bounce it back to your hand,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess. Yeah, like Draft New or something. So not actually blink, but yeah, like bounce it and recast it. What do you think about Commander? My first reaction was meh, but the more I think about this, is this just, like, one of the best card draw spells for Commander that we've seen ever? Like, I play Phyrexian Arena, which is 3 mana, and you gotta have black mana, so you got color identity issues, and it's draw 1 and lose 1 each turn. This is 1 more mana, but it can go in any deck. It immediately draws you the card, and then it snowballs throughout the game with more and more cards. I'm coming around to this just being actually, like, busted in Commander. Like, I would just throw this in any deck.
In any deck?
So think about the math. First turn you play it, 4 mana, you draw a card. Turn 2, it's 4 mana, draw 3 cards. Turn 3, it's 4 mana, draw 6 cards. That's actually, like, even if you get 3 cards for 4 mana over the course of 2 turns, that's like a concentrate, a colorless concentrate, or harmonize.
The problem is
and if
die.
it sticks,
Like,
you do.
So I don't think
the damage adds up
in any deck, because if you, like, say live 4 turns with this, you just killed yourself, right? So you actually need some way to get rid of it, or some way to gain life to offset it. I think it's so effective. Imagine if, like, Rhystic Study cost you a life for every card you drew. You're like, it draws so many cards, but you die so fast that you need some way of handling that you can't put it in a generic deck. So that would be my gut. And then you're like, oh, maybe life doesn't matter. But if life doesn't matter, that means you're playing, like, very high powered, then this is too slow. I think there's, like, better draw engines. But in a casual deck, I think your life does matter. And you need a way to get rid of this. And it's hard to get rid of. It's indestructible. So you need to actually sack it or exile it, or gain life.
That's true.
To throw it in a volcano, if you would.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you need. So there's a card called Mount Doom. It's a legendary land. You pay 1 life, tap, add Rakdos, or add 1 of Rakdos. So black or red. 3 Rakdos, tap, deals 1 damage to each opponent. 7 tap, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 creatures, then destroy the rest. So you can use Mount Doom to get rid of your ring. It costs you 7 mana plus the land, so 8. And then you get to Mortal Kombat someone. I guess you can keep 2 of your creatures, but you get to keep 2 creatures around. So the Mount Doom camp combos with the ring in Rakdos colors, but when you die, if you curve out on 4, by the time you get to 8 mana, are you dead already? I gotta do the math here.
We're playing the One Ring. The One Ring.
It's not.
And that's pinging you. And now your Mount Doom is also pinging you.
Oh, your Mount Doom is also pinging you too.
Yeah. Oh. I think you guys are too scared of the life loss. I mean, maybe I'm just the person who spends all my life on Wheel of Misfortune and goes to 1 with greed. But, like, to me, this is easy mode. I've spent way more life on greed, and this gives me way more cards.
Seth is out here yo, I'm saving life right now.
Yeah, this is this hardly hurts at all. It's only a scratch.
First off,
Mount Doom does seem slow, though, to combo with it. There's got to be easier ways. Isn't there ways to just sack an artifact? I guess if you're an artifact themed deck like Osgi or anything like that, where you're built around sacking artifacts, then it probably gets really good. Yeah,
I actually think Mount Doom is kind of cool, by the way. Like, that's a pretty sweet land. I don't know if I'm using it because of the One Ring. I just think that last ability is very interesting. And
I think card's so good. I think this card's better than people realize it is.
Wait,
Mount Doom,
honestly.
Yeah.
What are legendary artifacts
in Commander? In Commander, not.
So
we're
have,
assuming
like,
you need that 7, right? Like, you're not praising it for the deal 1 damage to everyone.
I mean, you know what?
No.
That is a win con. I'm just gonna say I've won with a lot less. All right, it's better than Augur of Bolas. So you know what? I won't rule that middle option out in 60 card. Just saying.
I could see you playing it in like some sort of burn deck where, I mean, if people Ramanam Ruins to deal 2 damage for 4 mana and you gotta sack your land, like that doesn't seem that bad.
So you're saying this is modern playable?
Well, I was gonna ask you, what do you think about in Jund, Richard? Like Saga Jund? Like, no, listen, bear with me, bear with me. Okay, yes, I know, you're already laughing. So it's a pain land. It's Sulphurous Springs without the super cool Devil art, but it's a pain land. You already got Urza's Saga. You're already tutoring up Shadowsphere, which is a legendary artifact. Could this be like a one of like? Are
you selling me on getting to 8 mana in Modern too?
It could happen. Your Tarmogoyf holds.
I thought you meant it as some extra reach for some reason. Like you needed to waste a land slot on this to like ping everyone for 1 damage.
Okay, maybe.
Well, Richard is poo-pooing on it, but Seth, I'll entertain the idea with you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I think the last mode is never going to happen in Modern because I don't think I've ever seen 7 mana outside of Tron, and that deck is unplayable. So I will say that I don't know, maybe, but that middle option,
right? Like Rakdos
that
Burn
middle option could be
Rakdos Burn,
but I think you need white and burn to like get lightning helix and stuff, right? No.
So Mardu Burn.
Shoal.
What about in Commander? Is this like a staple in Rakdos deck? So if you think about legendary artifacts, you got Shadowsphere, you got random Moxes like Mox Amber, Mox Opal, Sword of the Animist is a legendary artifact, Jitte for that matter. Like there's several any of the Monument Cycle, the Celestis, there's several 3 mana mana rocks that are happen to be legendary. Is that enough to make this worth throwing in any deck? Like it makes 2 colors of mana. Yeah, you got to take some damage, but it feels like you should be able to have a couple of legendary artifacts in your deck, and that would be enough to make it worth it to take a little damage off your land.
Yes, 100%. This is why wouldn't you? Right? This just seems great.
Rakdos, yes, but like 3 color decks, 4 or 5 color decks.
It's still a duel. Right? And it's untapped. Dude,
it's not fetchable.
Richard, you've literally seen me kill myself with Ancient too.
There's some upside to that, but like realistically, will you, especially if you're playing like 3, 4, 5 colors, right? Like you have probably access to legitimate Wraths. Do you need to pay 8 mana to combo Wrath? Like you also need a legendary artifact. How many of those do you have in your deck? Right? And then Wrath, is it worth it? Or you just play like a fetch land and call it a day?
I think for me it would be like Rakdos. I'm very interested. Some 3 color decks I'm interested. 4 or 5 color decks I'm not especially interested, unless I happen to have like some sort of legendary theme, maybe. But like outside of that, I don't think I would just throw it into a generic 5 color deck. But I think it does have a lot of potential in a 2 color deck. I think the Painland aspect is good enough, and I don't think it's that hard to have a few legendary artifacts that you want to be playing anyway. It's not like you got to play some horrible cards that you don't want to have in your deck to make this work. You get to play a few of the good legendary artifacts, and then maybe it works out sometimes.
I hope this comes to Arena. Me and all my Zoomer friends will play this in Historic.
So actually, I believe we know that this set's coming to Arena, and they even said they're not going to mess with it. It's actually going to be the paper card. So it's not going to be like some Arena like specialized version or something.
Okay, cool. Because like that is one of the most annoying things, not knowing what the card does. Like I played with Tasha online and I'm just like, whoa, this is so sick. I didn't know it did that. So
what?
I hope
what about
that's good.
What about the other rare land we got, the Shire, which does this one have a shot in Modern, Richard? So I'm really scrounging around to find a Modern
unless
card.
You control a legendary creature. And you tap to add a green. It's a legendary land. And then 2 mana, tap an untapped creature you control. Create a food token. Do we need food tokens in Modern?
See, I like Asmore. Asmore decks care about food. You sometimes see like Cauldron Familiar decks. Like there's some fringe decks that care a little bit about food. Asmore's also a legend that can come down on turn 1, so it'd make this untapped. Although the cost is kind of high. Like, let's say you want to gain life. You have to play this land. You have to pay 2, tap a creature, and then pay 2 more to sack your food. That is a lot of steps to get a healing solve going. Like, that is a lot of work.
Man, that's bad.
Okay. What about creativity? No, you don't have a legendary creature. Whatever you just played as a tapped land. Whatever. You just like, whatever, untap. Creativity.
Wow, I wonder.
Token.
Do you think they put that clause on there to prevent it from
you
play with creativity? Because you got to have a creature
useless.
to tap. I feels like they almost intentionally designed it to not work with creativity. Huh. I mean, Food Commander deck, if you're playing whatever that chef is that Tomer plays sometimes, Yom or
Yom
whatever.
is great.
Yeah.
And Master Chef background, like these are like I think that yes, okay, sure, we can make a reason for any of these to be like Commander playable, to be honest with you. And because like at the end of the day, this has to be like, you know, just a flavor set. And that's not a food reference. I think this has to be a flavor set. I guess I'm curious, what of these cards do you think is most likely, that we know right now, most likely to get modern play?
Okay, wait.
I mean,
I'm going to jump forward to a card I think actually might have a chance, okay? Reprieve. This is the saucy one here. 1 in a white.
Okay.
It's an instant. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. In white. Let me reiterate this. It's in white.
What a color pie break! Why? I was shocked they printed this card. So it's white remand essentially, except actually slightly better since it gets around uncounterable. So it's like a very, very slightly upgraded white remand. On one hand, it's a white counter spell that's actually competitively costed, which we've seen people play Mana Tithe and get people in actual like modern decks play Mana Tithe and have it work. So that makes me think it is playable. The other side, as Krim kind of alluded to earlier, it's not 2015 when like every deck is playing 4 remands. Like, I don't think I've gotten remanded to modern in like 3 years. It has been a minute since I've seen anyone remand. Is remand not good anymore? Like, what happened to remand in modern? Why did it fall off? You're the control mage, Graham. What happened to remand?
I mean, can control exist? I don't even know if like that. Like, okay, what? I don't know. Like, it's not enough. Right? Like, it's just not enough anymore. Like, I don't see why I would play this. The best control deck is Murktide Regent, and that deck does not play Remand, and it's all tempo all day long, but when you have literal counterspell, why would I play this? Right? Like,
I guess that's true.
Everything is so cheap costed. Like, what am I gonna do? Remand your 1-drop? And then you're gonna play that again? What, I'm gonna remand your, like, I might get you with Solitude. Then I get to empty out your hand again. But like, I don't know. It's just like free spells. So many things happening now at a cheaper cost. Like, remand effects just don't do it anymore.
Does being white change it? Like, does the fact that my Mono White Humans deck or my Death and Taxes deck or my Rakdos Reanimator deck, like, does the surprise factor of this being a color that doesn't usually have counter spells, is that enough to make it good? What do you think, Richard? Where are you at with this card?
I think Hammer Time plays this if there's a deck that plays it.
Yeah,
because they've already gone Azorius, right, for Spell Pierce, which is actually probably might be better because of mana efficiency. But I don't know. Now they don't have to add blue. Azorius could. Hammer Time is the deck for this. If
I think
we need one.
Like, I don't think Remand is stone unplayable. I think it's just like they're better cards. But if you were a white deck and you needed access to a counter spell, maybe it's right to go Azorius. But maybe you're like, it's better to just stay mono white. Then you can play this. I don't know. Like, Remand is like a tempo card or like a combo card. Like, you stop your opponent and then you draw the card and you do your combo. Is there a white deck that actually needs that? I still think Hammer Time likes Azorius. But like, you could do like, I don't know, like Orzhov Hammer Time or something, right? And still have access to your counter spells now, right? I don't know if you actually want to do that. Like, I don't know what other color you'd pair with this, right? But like that, it opens that possibility. But yeah, I mean,
it's good at buying you a turn. Like, you're playing some sort of aggressive deck and your opponent goes to Supreme Verdict and you bounce it back to hand or whatever. Like, it seems good in that scenario. I like
Verdict,
that it. Oh yeah, uncounterable, but not for Reprieve. Or like, it gets around Cavern, which is a nice upside. Your opponent Primeval Titans off a Cavern, you buy yourself a turn. I don't know. Like, I think people try it for sure, and I think there are uses for it. Like, it's competitively costed enough that there's still some remand decks. You see, like, Bluetron still plays it. There's, like, a teamer scape shift, like, control style deck that still plays remand. So there's some, like, fringe decks that use it. So I think we'll find decks that take advantage of it. I don't think it's going to be, like, there was a time when remand was one of the best cards in Modern. I am excited for new players to learn the remand trick of, like, remanding your own spell. That's one of those, like, moments as you're learning, you're learning Magic, and eventually the light bulb goes on and you're like, oh, wait, I should be, like, remanding my own champion of the parish rather than my opponent's counter spell. And that's, like, aha moment, I think, for your Modern, like, growth.
Boomer magic.
What are you gonna do?
Saying... Seth, what if I use Snapcaster Reprieve? Whoa! And then you fall out the cryptic command, the game is over. Yeah. No coming back.
Okay, like that
and then you Sphinx's Rev,
no, and then you bounce your Snapcaster.
But yeah, how do you beat it?
Nice try, Veil of Summer. Take a lap.
Your opponent is getting mildly annoyed more and more by the turn.
Are they? Like, didn't they just win because you played a remand in 2023? I do think that this is actually, like, the most Modern playable that we've seen so far. Outside of a few of, like, the Godzilla border stuff, like, we did get an Ensnaring Bridge. And,
like reprints, yeah.
Yeah, like it's Bridge of Khazad Doom. Then, there's the Party Tree as Great Henge, which is, like, pretty funny because I want the Party Tree just because it's the Party Tree. So I'm just going to call it that. But yeah, like, I think Reprieve is probably the most playable.
I think it's, like, clearly the most Modern playable. There's everything else you really gotta squint pretty hard and, like, try to come up with, like, who you could tutor from your sideboard or maybe is a one of. But this is a one card that I could see Dak playing, like, 4 copies of. So, I mean, and still we've seen, like, a tiny bit of the set. So I'm sure there'll be some more Modern stuff from the set as well. What do you think of the color pie break aspect? Were you surprised to see remand in white, or is this just, like, cool now?
I was, but then when you think about it, Gandalf, this tells me that there is going to be, obviously, a white Gandalf. If Gandalf is in white, in some variation of white, this makes sense.
Wait,
yeah, that makes...
He can sling life gain spells or something. I don't know. Why does he have to have counter spells?
If Gandalf did... The term a Gandalf gamer is what, Richard? It is a control player. It is me. It is everything I love, right? So, yeah. I mean, right? Like a Gandalf game.
I don't like this white counterspell business, Crim. What if they gave us white cryptic command instead of the counterspell? Just think of every counterspell that has ever existed, and instead of counter target spell, it says return target spell to owner's hand. And then you could basically spend 80 million years making white counterspells now and say it's on flavor.
Okay, I don't think it's, like, this is what I mean. This is when we look at, like, Planar Chaos and like, that kind of stuff, it was acceptable that we had color pie breaks because that was the gimmick of the set. That was the flavor of the set. Within the realm of Lord of the Rings, I think it's okay. As if it were just every set from here on out, white just literally had counterspells, cryptic, then that's problematic. But within the realm of Lord of the Rings, the flavor, it's there. It makes sense.
Okay, see, this is just Lord of the Rings. This is not going forward. White
I
can
hope
bounce spells.
I think that actually, like, someone from Wizards was asked about this, and they said that mana tithe is considered to be a break, the taxing counter spells, and you shouldn't expect more mana tithes. But they're kind of, like, experimenting with letting white bounce spells. Like, they view that as, like, the white way to have stack interaction is, like, what Reprieve is.
Taxing a color pie break from white?
I don't know. That's the current WotC philosophy, is taxing counter spells are not white and not acceptable, but bouncing counter spells are possibly white and they're going to experiment with it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more. I don't think we're going to see white cryptic anytime soon, but I do think we'll see more memory lab style.
Give me Gandalf's command. Return target spell to owner's hand. Phase out, gain protection from everything.
You know that Gandalf's going to be busted.
All your creatures become indestructible or whatever. Double strike flying, whatever. Just give me that white cryptic command in 2020.
It's just, it would be, Gandalf's command would be White Archmage's Charm, right? That's just, like, the thing that makes me sad is that they already used You Cannot Pass. Because that's what I would have named it. Seriously, like, what the hell is this? This unplayable, like, it's not even path. It's like, You Cannot Pass is like a big poo-poo card, I think, when I look at it. But, and that is such an iconic
It's a 1-mana
thing.
destroy target creature that was blocked. That blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this turn.
This is poo-poo. This is poo-poo.
I think legendary.
Gandalf
legendary
did die
matters
casting
decks,
the spell,
maybe.
so
yeah.
Okay, maybe you're right.
So okay, I got a question about this overall. Since we're getting near the end of the set, the power level of the set so far seems to be relatively low. Is that something you're happy about or disappointed in? I know for me, like, I was a little worried that we were going to get a set that added more Ragavans to Modern. And now I'm actually very relieved that this looks like a pretty flavorful set for people that love Lord of the Rings, with maybe some little Modern goodies like Reprieve thrown in. I'm pretty happy with that personally. What about you guys? Were you hoping for more, like, impactful stuff, or do you like this power level?
I think the initial thing that I that was told to us was that it was going to be a set, like what it seemed like was designed for Modern, right? So if that's the case, I'm extremely underwhelmed by the power level, but also in a weird way happy that I don't have to deal with Modern Horizons 3. Right? So like, it's like, oh, thank God, it's just a bunch of bad cards. Okay, so I don't know, take that how you will, but I mean, flavor-wise, I think it's pretty cool. I'm really happy where it's at flavor-wise. For people who do love Lord of the Rings, this does seem really cool because of that. And the one thing we didn't really get to talk about was the serialized One Ring. But like, yeah, like I think this is a flavor, for the most part, success from what I've seen. But sad that it's like almost unplayable in Modern. But I think that's more of a thing about Modern than it is this set.
All right, let's talk about Maro's Toenails. The 1/1 card. They've done it. We've seen people bidding 100K already on social media this week for people who open this card. How do you guys feel? Does this change anything? Realistically, you're not opening this. It's like a 1 in 3 million or something, right?
The humor if Seth or I open this it would be unreal.
And then you flip it or rip it. Oh,
yeah.
That is the most. I believe that what I was talking about on my stream was that I do strongly believe that there are more Lord of the Rings fans than there are Magic the Gathering fans. There was a Lord of the Rings card game. It did pretty bad. I thought the game was pretty bad. But now if you told me that, what if you could play Lord of the Rings in a game that was tried and true, good game, and you could now play with Lord of the Rings cards. I think you could definitely get a lot of Lord of the Rings fans. Warhammer fans got into the Commander with the Warhammer decks. I think this set will obviously, draw in the Lord of the Rings fans. Somebody that is a Lord of the Rings person and also a Magic the Gathering person will pay an unholy amount. I think this might actually be the most valuable card. If not one of the top, I think it's a top 5 most valuable card in Magic.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I really don't care. The only thing that's weird to me is like when I saw the numbers on it, the like 1 in 3 million, I just haven't been able to shake like, wow, packs really are just lottery tickets, aren't they? Like,
yep.
It really like straight up just feels like selling people lottery tickets. So the gambling aspect is becoming more and more evident, I think, with cards like this. But there's going to be a $10 version of it or whatever the normal. There's going to be a bunch of different cheap versions of it. So if there's some one of one thing that goes for $500,000, like whatever, like congrats to whoever opens it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. Like there's a golden ticket, like in every Lord of the Rings pack. I don't like. I mean, it's not as if the set didn't really need help moving itself because it will sell. But they also, on top of that, threw in this golden ticket. So I like that. I like that there's a budget version. I like that there's a collector's version out there. I think it's pretty sweet.
And this is the first of many, I'm sure. I would be shocked if we did not see more one-of-one cards. It seems like a really easy way to generate hype and maybe sell packs. So what do you think, Richard? Where are you at with it?
This disgusts me. Am I the only one who feels this way? I feel...
Why?
Okay, so realistically, like, it doesn't impact anything, right? Like, it won't impact, like, your pack prices or anything like that, right? Most of us will never see nor touch this card, right? But it's just, like, this artificial scarcity that I think creates a negative image for Magic the Gathering, right? Because there will be news articles like, oh, you know, the one ring sold for, like, $250,000 or whatever. And then people will be like, that's just a single piece of cardboard that was printed yesterday, right? Like, the artificial scarcity part of it really bothers me. Like, you know, you're like, Black Lotus, how do I get an original Black Lotus? It's, like, nearly impossible, right? Like, nobody had the foresight to save them. It's an old item. It's very rare to get. So, you know, it's worth its price tag, right? And even then, it's pretty questionable, right? Like, would you pay $250,000 or whatever, $500,000 for a Black Lotus? But this is just printed tomorrow. You know, just one. Wizards decided to restrict the rarity of it. They are banking on the fact that it's super pricey, and I don't know. It just feels icky. Like, I don't know. I feel it kind of diminishes our game a little bit, right? By having these like weird lottery cards. Like,
it's a collectible card game. It would feel icky if this was the only way you could get that card, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be outrageous. They, obviously.
Oh, I would quit Magic. Yeah,
right.
You needed that. Like, it's done. Yeah.
As long as there is a budget version of the card, so if I ever wanted it, I had like a $10 version that I could play with. I don't care, right? Like, I think that's fine.
But like,
I'm curious,
Seth said,
Richard,
you're no longer playing a card game. You're playing like lottery pack simulator or something. Like, I don't know. It changes the optics of this a bit,
but it
right?
doesn't change the gameplay of the game, right?
It doesn't.
And
it doesn't.
Here is my question, and I don't know if this is fair or not, but like, should kids be able to buy booster packs? Like, I actually tweeted something about this right after the ring. Like, we don't let kids go and buy lottery tickets or go to the casino. And as far as I can tell, there's really like, is there any difference between a collector booster from the Lord of the Rings sets and a lotto ticket? Like, you were buying it in hopes of winning $1 million, and you got a 1 in 3 million shot. Like, isn't it the same? Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but it does feel very like the most that I've ever seen out of any Magic product. It feels like a lottery ticket to me. I don't think that's bad. Like, I like gambling, so I'm not like anti-gambling or anything. I'm gonna crack a collector booster or two, but it does, like, isn't it kind of weird that isn't this a legal like lottery essentially?
Is this any different than you as a kid buying a pack of basketball cards and there's a 1 out of 1 signed by Michael Jordan card? Right? Like,
I mean, I guess
it's not like it hasn't been done before.
Sports
are those things just grandfathered in? Like, if they didn't exist and today someone invented the trading card pack, would it fly? You know, I feel part of it is like, you know, when countries are banning loot boxes or like having very strict regulation around loot boxes in digital games, that our trading card games have somehow gotten away with it, right? Due to like being grandfathered in somehow to this, or, you know, whatever, being a social norm or something, right? But packs are just loot boxes, and we're just getting more and more extreme now. Is that a problem?
And maybe this is because of the conditioning that we've gone through as card game lovers.
Yeah.
I don't view that as a necessarily it sounds weird, but I don't think it feels like a lottery ticket. It doesn't feel like I'm gambling. Like, I'm getting something out of this.
Have you seen anyone at the LGS where they buy a box? This is probably Seth. You buy a box, you open a card, and you're like, oh, $500 card. They trade it in immediately, get like 3 more boxes. They open it up. Oh, $200 card. Buy 2 more boxes. And then you can see
worm coil.
the dopamine and the gambling addiction going. And then they walk away with like literally nothing at the end of this. Like,
yes, that is Seth, first off. So facts. Second off, I don't know. Think about it like as a kid. When I opened Pokemon packs, it was cool to me because the card was rare. It's a collectible card game, right?
Yeah.
But when I was opening packs as a kid, I wasn't opening and thinking of the dollar signs next to it. I opened the packs. It isn't true. Like it didn't teach me like, oh man, this is a $500 card, this Charizard. It was, oh cool, Flame Lizard.
But they weren't like, $500 at that time. Like
sure,
it only became expensive over time, right? But at that time, it was just a rare card that, was harder to get, but wasn't like outrageous, right? But now you're like, I opened a house. Like, what I do, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this is a cool promo. It's like, it's a house. What do you want to do? Where's your financial manager, right? Like,
but it's not like it's teaching me as a child like what gambling is. It's not. It's what it kind of is, right? It is. It's decent. Maybe this is the conditioning of growing up to a bunch of card games, and maybe you're right. Maybe that's why I don't see it. But like I'm as a kid, I'm not. It's not teaching me like to gamble, to go out to Vegas and sit by the slot machines. It's just me buying a pack that just happens to have something that may be worth a lot to somebody else. But for me, it's just I got to open a cool set of Lord of the Rings.
And I think that it's fair to say that sports cards have done this for a long time, too. So it's not like Wizards is unique here with this one-of-one thing. Although if you ever watch, like, the $2,000 box sports cards, like, you can look them up on YouTube. They're actually kind of interesting. But it's definitely... I mean, people are hoping to open the 101 that's worth $20,000 or something. Like, that is the reason that you're cracking those packs. So, it's definitely an interesting... The world has just changed. Like, collector boosters are designed to be open to find expensive cards. With draft boosters, at least you have to, like... Oh, they're, like... I open this so I can, like, play, a game or, like, so I can do a draft or whatever. With collector boosters, they're kind of designed to, like, open the cool collectible thing. And if you... I don't know, replace collectible with super expensive thing, then it sounds kind of like gambling, at least. But
all right, here's my last pitch. The ridiculousness of NFTs, right? You know how everyone poo-poos them. It's not really the concept, right? If the NFTs cost like 25 cents, no one would care. You're like, oh, digital, whatever, 25 cents, whatever, right? It's because they sold for millions, outrageous prices. You're like, oh, it's just pixels. Like, I feel we are starting to get to that tier. Like, if the One Ring was a $10 card, no one cares, right? But if it's a $200,000 card, it's a $200,000 piece of cardboard. People who are not used to Magic the Gathering look at it and look down upon it, right? Like, that's weird, right? You're like, oh, I play this strategic card game that's like poker and chess combined and it's very high level. They're like, oh, good job, nerd. You play with $500,000 pieces of cardboard, right? Like, I feel it diminishes the game a bit because of this weird lottery aspect that's associated with it. But
it's not like an NFT.
It's just one card.
In that, like, you get to actually, there's a game. You're getting something. I'm not just selling you this digital pixel that does nothing. And
realistically, no one's buying this One Ring to play with it, though, right? It's just literally a collector's item designed to hold value, right?
The One Ring it doesn't take away from my gameplay. It doesn't take away from what Magic is. Like, it's just it's a collectible card in a collectible card game, and it's not like this is in like every set. Richard, I feel like how am I the one that's going to be like, yo, Richard, flavor? Okay. This is the. It makes sense.
We're running long. I got it for you. I got it in a way that you'll understand, Krim. Imagine you're watching anime, okay? And it's like this really cool, like space mecha anime, top-notch animation, and you're like, oh, look at the sci-fi, like human, the glimpse into human nature and the animations, right? And then you're like, come over, best friend. Let me show you this anime I've been watching. They come over, and it's the beach episode. Right, where where there's just girls of questionable age running around in swimsuits doing weird things in weird poses.
That
and
make
you're like,
no
no,
sense in the storyline.
this is not the anime. Right? This is a one-off episode. It shouldn't diminish from the high quality animation and storyline of the previous 13 episodes. It's just like a beach episode. Let it slide.
It's like when you're watching the anime, like, honey, come on over, check out the show with me. It's so sick. And it's the most fan servicey scene out of nowhere that comes out.
Yep.
No, but okay.
Is that not the One Ring?
No, the One Ring is not the beach episode, because the beach episode, when you think about it, is a detour from the main storyline. It makes no sense. It does nothing to the anime. It's literally just gratuitous fan service, right? This, though fan servicey, it makes sense in the line of what the set is. It's not like they're just like, all right, we're fighting this demon god, and now we gotta stop by the beach and get extremely naked. Okay? So, like, it's not the same. It's not the same. The One Ring makes sense in what it is, right? Like, in what it's being released in the context of this set, it makes sense. And and again, it doesn't take away from the game of Magic. It doesn't change the gameplay. It's not a companion. It's not the only copy that exists. You can buy a cheap version of it. There's no harm in okay, outside of, like, you know, whether or not you want to talk about is now Magic, a Magic Pack a loot box, that's a different discussion. And the ethics behind that, that's a whole different question. But is this bad for Magic? It doesn't change anything.
And maybe all publicity is good publicity. Like, maybe the fact that whatever, like, CNN or whatever website, like, has an article about Magic talking about the One Ring, like, maybe that's a win, because they wouldn't be talking about Magic at all without it. So maybe that's the other side. Like, yes, I could see how, like, my grandmother being her only knowledge of Magic being the $500,000 One Ring is a little bit awkward, but at the same time, like, that's some knowledge of Magic that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Do you honestly think like we already have that though in Black Lotus? It's not like Black Lotus.
Yeah, but it's
everybody
old.
that knows
I think
Magic
old gets a pass. No, even then it's kind of questionable.
Like,
Black Lotus wasn't
if your
intentionally
problem,
$500,000
Yeah.
though. But yeah,
if your problem is that though, Black Lotus is already there. So
Yeah,
I guess it's not really any different. Like, that's what I mean. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
All right. And yeah, so that's Lord of the Rings spoilers. I'm curious. Let us know what you think about the One Ring. Is it actually a good card? And what do you think about the One of One? There's other serialized cards in the set, by the way.
Mostly Soul Rings. Many versions of Soul Rings, I think, with different arts.
Many versions of Soul
serialized.
Rings in the Commander version of different serialized quantities, like 700.
Yeah, there's
300.
Elven, Dwarven, like all written in the languages of each respective.
Krim is like a Lord of the Rings. Like,
Krim knows
expert.
so much about.
Well,
Lord
yeah,
of the Rings.
you gotta like you're telling me, Krim, you learned all this ironically? Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
you gotta learn how. I don't like Lord of the Rings. You're
I think
weird.
Krim actually loves Lord of the Rings. You've been making it up the whole time that you were a hater. I'm so disappointed. I thought we were on the same team, Krim.
Stop, guys, stop. I just can't have that getting out there, all right? But also, for Lord of the Rings lovers, the basics are maps. They're maps of the world that is Lord of the Rings. So Swamp has Mordor. You know, you've got the Shire on plains. Yeah, I'm not okay. This makes it look like I don't like Lord of the Rings. like okay.
Tell us
All
more
right.
about other
All
random
right.
locations
All right.
that
You know
only
what?
Lord of the Rings fans would know.
podcast
I
is
know-
running long.
I know who
all
to-
right?
I know who to go to with my Lord of the Rings questions now. Keep your phone on, Krim. I might have some questions for you. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of episode 425 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. We didn't get to fish mail this week, but Richard, real quick, if people want to send them in for the future, how do they go about fish mailing us?
All right, send them over on Twitter at MTG Goldfish to the hashtag MTG Fishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
So that brings us to the end of episode 425. Richard and Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.